PNC News First is presented by the Bank of Guam, the People's Bank. Pizza Hut, we're taking pizza where it's never been before. Taco Bell, the only place where you live Moss. Guam Auto Spot. Colgate, the #1 brand recommended by dentists. And IT&E, Life in Motion.
Live from the Broadcast Center, Akata, Tumon, Guam. Broadcasting in Guam and Saipan. Here's Janela Carrera and Clint Rigel with Donna De Jesus and Rebecca Elmore. PNC Sports with Leo Payumo and Weather with Chelsea Cruz. This is PNC News First.
Confident, good evening and welcome to PNC's News First. We are live from the Broadcast Center Akanta in the heart of Tumon. I'm Janela Carrera. Thanks for joining us. Your top story tonight, senators hit the voting file this afternoon to close out this round of session. While there were a number of bills on the agenda, the bill that grabbed the most attention from the public was no doubt Bill 50, which bans casino gambling from the Liberation Carnival. Here's PNC's Clint Rigel with the details.
Speaker Cruz, aye. Senator Espaldon. Senator Espaldon, aye. Senator Esteves. Senator Esteves, aye. Senator.
It was unanimous. Lawmakers of the 34th Guam Legislature voted to ban casino gambling from the Liberation Day Carnival. All 15 senators were present and all voted yes on Bill 50. This is important to note because even if the governor vetoes the measure, he will have to change the minds of at least 6 senators in order to prevent an override. The bill has been at the center of controversy as island mayors have said that without the casino, there will be no money to operate a Liberation Carnival or even a Liberation Day parade. It should be noted, however, that when Felix Camacho was governor, the Liberation Carnival and parade continued annually without the need of a casino. Many questions have arisen surrounding the operations of the casino and the Guam Liberation Historical Society that is tasked with organizing the Liberation Day Carnival and Parade. Senator Talina Nelson said yesterday that they haven't even been able to determine who are the members of this nonprofit organization. Senator Nelson says they've never been given a straight answer. PNC has obtained a copy of the Guam Liberation Historical Society's Articles of Association and its bylaws. According to its bylaws, which were filed in 2013, the members are mostly made up of mayors. The president is listed as Agana Heights Mayor Paul McDonald, Vice President Sinahanya Mayor Robert Hoffman, and the Secretary/Treasurer Barrigada Mayor June Blas. The Board of Trustees is comprised of former Agate Mayor Carol Tayama, Agana Mayor John Cruz, Dededo Mayor Melissa Savares, Tamuning Mayor Luis Rivera, and Mayor's Council of Guam Executive Director Angel Sablan, as well as Helen Uggan and Annie Makepeace. Although lawmakers have now passed Bill 50 into law, there are still a lot of questions that remain up in the air. For example, will Governor Eddie Calvo sign Bill 50 into law? And if he signs Bill 50 into law, then what of the construction done for this brand new building down here in Paseo that's meant to be used as a casino? But perhaps the questions that are weighing the most on people's minds are whether or not we'll have a Liberation Day parade, whether we'll have a Liberation Carnival, or whether we'll be left with nothing more than these abandoned carnival grounds. For PNC, I'm Clint Rigel.
Lawmakers also passed several bills, including bills that you can check on our website at pacificnewscenter.com. Well, a new development in the planned marine realignment to Guam, a top marine official telling Congress that the plan to relocate Marines from Okinawa to Guam may be put on hold in light of rising tensions in North Korea. The story was posted in Japan Times Online in reference to testimony made by U.S. Marine Corps Commandant General Robert Neller. Speaking before the Senate Appropriations Committee, Neller was quoted as saying the situation has changed for U.S. military posturing based on the capabilities of our adversaries, clearly referring to North Korea, which has launched several missiles against international orders not to do so. Neller talked about the planned military realignment of close to 20,000 Marines from Okinawa to Guam and Hawaii. Earlier this month, North Korea test-fired a missile that has the capability of reaching Guam. Neller did say, however, that the planned realignment still remains status quo, and the review of the deal is still in its early stages. You can read more online at pacificnewscenter.com. In other news, in the midst of a full-on investigation into alleged corruption involving Guam Senator Jim Espaldon in a CNMI diesel generator deal and an ethics complaint against him, our CNMI correspondent Tomas Manglotnya sits down with CNMI rep Ed Probst, who lodged the complaint against Espaldon, for more on the controversy.
A web of alleged conflict and corruption, CNMI Governor Ralph Torres requesting the resignation of all CUC board members after a series of unfolding discoveries into the contentious RFQ for a lucrative diesel generator contract. CNMI Congressman Ed Probst filed an ethics complaint on May 16, 2017 regarding Senator James Espaldon's involvement.
Calls into question the relationship with Robert and Amelia Tolkis. Obviously, Senator Espaldon came out, to Saipan multiple times and was the chief negotiator. So this ethics complaint was filed because I needed to find out, not just me, but the ratepayers, all of us need to find out the relationship.
One of his many questions, how did a sitting senator at Guam become the attorney or chief negotiator for Saipan-based General Pacific Services, Marianas Inc. or GPSM, which submitted a request for, quote, for a diesel generating plant system. A deal worth $11.7 million stopped in its tracks after Pope says whistleblowers within the agency said, enough is enough.
How did Senator Espaldon become the chief negotiator, for one? And as a chief negotiator, he should have been aware of the request for quote and all the elements, all the players involved.
Probst tells PNC that it took less than an hour for him and his staff to put the moving parts of the complaint together. In the 5-page letter, Probst points out that Senator Espaldon's chief of staff, Philip Roberto, was GPSM's vice president and is also the stepson of CUC chairwoman Adeline Roberto, who notarized the articles of incorporation for GPSM. In addition, its registered agent was CUC board member Albert Titono.
What was he expected? When he spoke to me initially, he said that he was doing this all for free. But is it really free? Now, if he's been out here multiple times, how many times did he come out? And were any of these trips paid for by Robert or Amelia Tolkis?
He says he'd also like to know why GPSM President Amelia Tolkis was never involved in any negotiations with CUC.
So that calls into question who really is in charge. Is it her or is it her husband, Robert Tolkis, who was involved in the process?
Whether or not the Guam Legislative Committee on Ethics finds cause for an investigation, Congressman Ed Probst says that he hopes at the end of the day, ultimately, the truth comes out. And whether or not that means Senator Espaldon remains in office, he says he trusts the Guam Legislative Committee to do their job. Reporting for the Pacific News Center, I'm Tomas Manglotnya.
Right, thanks, Tomas, for that report. You can read the full ethics complaint online at pacificnewscenter.com. In related news, the Legislative Ethics Committee has officially met to discuss the serious allegations surrounding Senator Jim Espaldon. Ethics Chairman Fernando Estevez walks us through the process. PNC's Rebecca Elmore reports.
An official complaint waged against Republican Senator Jim Espaldon has been filed with the Legislative Ethics Committee.
At this point, I have no comment.
CNMI Representative Ed Probst accused Espaldon of ethical misconduct for his involvement in a multi-million-dollar procurement project in Saipan. Now that the Ethics Committee officially convened last week, what happens next?
There's a 30-day window to screen, so the screening just says at face value, if any of this were true, is there even the slightest possibility of an ethical violation or an infraction on our standing rules and code of conduct?
As Ethics Chairman Estevez explains that from there, the committee could move on to the preliminary investigation phase.
What the preliminary investigation does is the first line where questions can be asked, information can be gathered, evidence can be looked at. And then based on that, the committee would then, within 30 days, make the determination whether or not to dismiss or to have a full hearing.
The full hearing is actually the official proceedings, if it even gets to that point. The chairman adds that if at any time further evidence comes up against the complaint, the committee has the ability to exonerate at any point, but they'll have to do so with only 5 members.
One of the interesting developments is that we are down to 5 members that are going to be actively looking into this. That's because Senator Will Castro voluntarily recused himself because of a potential conflict.
Although there is a recusal, Esteves says it shouldn't affect quorum. The members that are sitting on the committee include Chairman Esteves, Republican Senator Will Castro, and Democrat Senators Talina Nelson, Senator Regine Bisco-Lee, and Senator Tom Atta.
We've contracted outside legal counsel. Attorney John Bell is the legal counsel representing the Ethics Committee. And so a lot of our questions are addressed to him. But at the end of the day, the committee still has the final vote on what happens within there.
Esteves says that at this point in time, the committee has only received 1 official complaint. Reporting for PNC News, I'm Rebecca Elmore.
In other news, a homeless man was arrested for allegedly assaulting a woman who was trying to deliver a care package to a homeless encampment. A magistrate report states that the victim was bringing food and clothing to a nearby homeless camp when 46-year-old Jerry Samo jumped out of the jungle and grabbed her pouch, which contained her ID and $10. Samo then struck the victim several times in the head with a piece of wood, which rendered her unconscious for about 5 minutes, as per court documents. The victim was able to call for help at a nearby residence and gave a description of her attacker to police. Officers found Samo intoxicated with bloodshot and watery eyes. The victim recognized him as someone who sometimes stayed at the homeless encampment she was visiting. Samo was charged with first and second degree robbery with use of a deadly weapon, special allegation, aggravated assault, and theft. Well, on Wednesday, May 24th, Department of Agriculture conservation officers arrested 4 men for illegally fishing in the PD Bombhole preserves. They are accused of catching over 100 reef fish. According to authorities, on Tuesday night, May 23rd, conservation officers were patrolling the PD Bombhole Marine Preserve when they saw 2 individuals with lights in the water. They arrested the men when they got out of the water after midnight and confiscated 111 reef fish, 2 Hawaiian slings, and 2 flashlights. Later that morning, conservation officers arrested 2 more men in connection to the illegal fishing who were seen driving out of the Department of Agriculture parking lot. They charged the 2 additional men for providing the transportation for the 2 men who were arrested for illegal fishing. They arrested Justin Ruda, Kane Mazawa, Apron Clementi, and Justina Ruda. In an unrelated story, on May 12th, conservation officers arrested several men for having 1 dead deer and a live deer in a cage in the back of their pickup truck at a gas station in Jigo. Stephen C. Munoz, Jesse Jr. C. Borja, Dionisia Flores, and Patrick N. Cruz were charged for not having a hunting license or permit to be in possession of the animals. Officers confiscated a Toyota pickup truck, 1 dead deer carcass, 1 live juvenile deer, a wire cage, 2 flashlights, a headlight, and 1 12-gauge shotgun. All right, we'll be right back after this quick break. Don't go anywhere.